Namanda Vatsinamanda 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 Vatsinamanda.
Good morning, everyone. We will begin today's service with meditation followed by Nembutsu. Please join me by placing your palms together in Gassho.
Namu Amida Butsu.
Namo Amitabha.
Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namanda Vatsinamanda Vatsinamanda Vatsinamanda.
Good morning, everyone, again. My name is Sachi Anakita, and I am your service chair for today's Hanamatsuri service. I'd like to welcome our guest speaker, Reverend Sydney Shioriyama, Minister Assistant from the Palo Alto Buddhist Temple. Today we are celebrating Prince Siddhartha Gautama, who became enlightened by Shakyamuni Buddha. I'd like to share with you a recent article from our Sacramento Betsuin minister, Reverend Matt Hamasaki, as he reflected on his meaning of Hanamatsuri. In April, we celebrate Hanamatsuri, which in Japanese literally means flower festival. This is taken from the legend of the historical Buddha's birth when his mother, Queen Maya, stopped in Lumbini's garden on the way back to her hometown to give birth. It is said that all the flowers bloomed and it rained sweet tea from the sky. Thus, we decorate the Hanamido, a small altar with a statue of the baby Buddha with flowers, and pour sweet tea over the statue. Within the ritual of Buddhism, there are multiple meanings. Some have roots in practical use, and some have symbolic reasoning attributed to them. Depending on the sect or even just the minister you are talking to, you may get several different interpretations of any given ritual. Pouring the tea over the baby Buddha's head is one of them. One such interpretation is that it is easy to wash away physical dirt, but much more difficult to cleanse one's inner impurities of greed, anger, and ignorance. You may recognize these three as the three poisons. It's so simple for us to wash our hands, and we have gotten a lot of practice during the pandemic. Of course, we should continue to wash our hands regularly for our safety and for the safety of those around us. How do we wash our spirit, though? One tradition during Hanamatsuri is to pour the sweet tea over the Buddha 3 times, and while doing this, being very mindful of what we are doing and concentrating each time on one wish for yourself and the world. First time, may I eliminate all evil thoughts. Second time, may I cultivate good deeds. Third time, may I help save all living beings. Of course, as Jodo Shinsho Buddhists, we recognize that these aspirations are ideals which are impossible to achieve. However, by cultivating this mind, we are blazing a trail that our actions may follow. With these wishes, the next time we are given a choice, it will be easier to choose the right path. Think pure thoughts or bad thoughts. Do kind deeds or selfish deeds. Help others or harm others. Oh, and I'd like to welcome a guest, Arlene Makita Kuno. Welcome. We will now have a flower presentation on behalf of the drama school. Thank you, boys. We will continue with today's service with the chanting of Butsuge by Reverend Shibata. This is the Gatha of bathing the Buddha's image. This will be followed by aspiration and dedication of today's service.
They cause sentient beings of the 5 periods of decay to be separated from their sufferings and together attain the pure Dhamma body of the Tathagata. We are fortunate to be here in this world where birth is difficult. We are even more fortunate to be able to meet the vow of immeasurable life and light that transforms us to become truly human. On this Buddha Day, celebrating the birth of the baby Buddha, we are reminded of the rarity, nobility, and preciousness of each individual life that is sustained by infinite workings of all others. With humility and gratitude in our hearts, may we rejoice in the birth of Siddhartha Gautama, who had later become the Buddha, the fully awakened one. Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Samandas.
Please rise if it's comfortable for you to do so for the singing of the Gatha of Flower Grows. The Gatha lyrics are on the handout. This will be followed by the recitation of Three Treasures, which is also in the program or on page 2 of the service book.
Sweetness in every bloom. Three treasures. Hard is it to be born into human life. Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One. Now we hear it. If we do not deliver ourselves in the present life, no hope is there that we shall be freed from suffering and sorrow in the ocean of birth and death. Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of your way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves your supreme will. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord in your life of harmony in a spirit of universal oneness, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages of myriads of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu.
We will continue with the chanting of Jusei Gei, which starts on page 95 of your service book.
Gagon Chosegan Hishi Jodom Shigan Fumanzok Seifu Joshogak Gao Muryokom Fuidai Seishu Usai Shobingu Seifu Joshogak Kashi Jobutsudo Myosho Chojipo Kukyomi Shomon Seifu Joshogak Ryokujin Shonen Joei Shubongyo Shigumu Jodo Ishoten Nishi Jiniki and Daiko Bushomu Saido Shoujo Sankumyo Kosai Shuyakunan Kaiichi Egen Meshi Komoan Heisoku Shoakudo Tsudatsu Zen Shumon Kosojo Manzok Iyodo Jipo Nichigatsu Shujuki Tenkon Bugen Ishukai Ozo Kosei Kudoku o Chodai Shuchu Seppo しく
く
よい細物空足種特本金質上満得意三害用女仏無下地つらつみ不詳科学エリク投資最小村志願や交換大勢の感動北書店人東内妙見ナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブがんにしくどく平等正祭東本も大神おりょあなNamanda Vatsinamanda 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 Namanda
We will now have offering of tea by the following representatives. Dharma School students, Jamie Naishi. Dharma School teacher, Mike Shibata. Sangha Club, Jules Bess. And do we have a representative from the Young Buddhist Association? Thank you, Carrie. Young Adult Buddhist Association, Dr. Linda Kawaguchi. Adult Buddhist Association, Dolores Matsumura. Tomonokai Motoe Takahashi. Dr. Byukyo Taiko, Chris Kubo. Stockton Buddhist Women's Association, Vivian Fuji. Cortez Horokai, Debbie Nakade. Buddhist Church of Stockton, Candy Hayashi. Next, we'll have the Dharma School message by Reverend Shibata, who will introduce our guest speaker, Reverend Sydney Shiroyama.
Okay, good morning, everybody, and happy Hanamatsuri. Thank you for joining us today, and it's so nice to see so many of you. And it's really my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, partly because she will be jet setting and will be leaving the country to go to Japan soon. And so we may not have an opportunity to see her probably for another
2 years, 3 years. And of course, once sensei gets assigned to a temple, there's this unspoken rule that we're not supposed to invite newly assigned ministers for at least 1 year. So I snagged her before she was able to go to Japan. But again, it's my pleasure to introduce Reverend Sydney. So Reverend Sydney Shioyama, and her pronouns are she and her, is a certified minister's assistant at the Palo Alto Buddhist Temple. And she completed her Tokudo ordination, which is the first level of ordination, in October 2025. As a Yonsei, or fourth generation Japanese American, she was introduced to Jodo Shinshu Buddhism at a young age. Her mother, Ruth Terada, grew up in Hanford Buddhist Church, which is in Central California, where her Uncle Dean is still very active, and her grandmother was a member at Visalia. Her stepdad, Keiju Terada, is the current president of the Oakland Buddhist Church. Reverend Sydney has been an active member of BCA programs, the Buddhist Churches of America, and their programs and organizations such as the YAC, which is training for youth ministers' assistants, and the BYR, which is the current name of it, and Junior and Senior Young Buddhist Association, the Techno Buddha Conference, and the Music Committee. And she's a founding member of Bombu Stories, an Asian American artist collective. So how many of you remember the Lantern Song from Obonodori? So this is the new song that Bombu Stories had created, and it's one that we've been putting in our rotation at our Obonodori, and this was to commemorate the Buddhist Churches of America's 125th anniversary. Reverend Sydney is also an avid taiko player, and she first played taiko at the Palo Alto Dharma School Taiko Group, led by Reverend Abiko. As an occupational therapist, she incorporated these early taiko experiences into her practice. She currently facilitates taiko classes for the Silicon Valley Down Syndrome Network community and the Mountain View High School Special Education Program. And she's worked with San Jose Taiko to develop a recreation class for people with Parkinson's disease. She also works as an in-home pediatric occupational therapist for children 0 to 3 with developmental delays. So Reverend Sydney's happy place is, like many of us, on our couches. And knitting has become a recent obsession with her 2 cats, and they're watching favorite shows currently, The Pit. How many of you are watching The Pit? I think I need to start watching that. I heard it's really, really good. So she also loves playing pickleball at the Palo Alto Buddhist Temple. And so her schedule sounds completely busy. And so again, we're so excited to have her share not only the Dharma School message, but also the message for the adults later on in our program. So without further ado, Reverend Sydney Shioyama.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, just a moment as I set up my slideshow. It's warming up. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone, for having me today. Thank you very much, Reverend Candace, for inviting me to speak with you today. I'm really honored to be here. I've never been to Stockton Buddhist Temple. This is the first time. I'm really impressed with the layout and the size of your temple and your beautiful onaijin up here. And I'm also very honored to be asked by Reverend Candace Shibata, who I have looked up to for many years. Yes, when I was growing up in the BCA, there wasn't a lot of female ministers, and so to see Reverend Candace kind of pave the way and chant in her like higher octave and, get really emotional during Dharma talks, like I thought that was very inspiring to me, so I appreciate her guidance. Please join me in Gasho as I open with a poem by Isa Kobayashi, quoted in Buddha's Wish for the World by Monshu Koshin Otani. Even the lowly bamboo shoot proclaims to the world, truly I alone am the honored one. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Okay. So yes, I'm also really grateful to be here for Hanamatsuri. This was a celebration that was always one of my favorites when I was growing up at the Palo Alto Buddhist Temple. I think one of the reasons that I loved Hanamatsuri, and I still do, but especially as a kid, was that it was a celebration specifically of a child who was amazing and wondrous and impacted the community around him. For my Dharma School talk, I'd like to share with you a book about Prince Siddhartha called Little Sid. This is maybe not the historical accurate depiction, but I think it helps convey the main themes. Okay. So Little Sid, the tiny prince who became Buddha, written by Ian Lendler and illustrated by Xanth Bauma. This is Sid. Hello. Sid was a normal kid like you and me, except for one thing. His father was a king, so Sid was a little lord. He says, "Do I have to wear this? It's a bit itchy." The life of a little lord is good, very, very good. And just like today, they're saying, "Happy birthday, little lord." But it's also busy. He's told, "Eat fast. You have 1,000 presents to open." He replies, "I want to wait for my presents." He's very, very busy. His attendants say, "They couldn't make it." Oh, sorry, I want to wait for my parents. The attendants say, "They couldn't make it. They had to be somewhere else." And he says, "Oh." From the moment he was born, the king and queen gave Sid anything that made him happy. He was surrounded by fun every moment of the day. From the moment he woke up, let the fun begin. Hooray, the little lord is awake. What shall we play? What shall we play today? And then little Sid says, "I'm just going to read a book, okay?" To the moment he went to bed, his staff tells him, "Your parents couldn't be here, so they sent us to read your bedtime story. I'll read you 20. More nightlight, sire." There was just one problem. He hears, "Little lord, little lord, little lord." Boom, crash. Once upon a time. And little Sid says, "Could you please keep it down? I'm trying to sleep." Little Sid wasn't happy. He tried to talk about it with his parents during breakfast. He says, "Mom, Dad, why am I so unhappy?" But they were always busy, and they always said the same thing. They said, "Not now, dear, not now, son. We need to be somewhere else. Here, have a stuffed animal. That will cheer you up." Sid decided he couldn't find happiness in the castle, but maybe he could find it somewhere else. Out in the world, little Sid walked to the nearest village. He walked from house to house. He said, "Excuse me, do you know where I can find happiness?" They replied, "Beats me, kid. They say 3 wise ones live on that mountain. Ask them." So little Sid kept walking. Happiness was going to be harder to find than he thought. He walked up the mountain to the 3 wise ones. He soon came to a stream where a sleepy-looking man was fishing. He said, "Excuse me, are you a wise man? I'm searching for happiness." "Why?" the man replied. Sid said, "Because I'm unhappy." The man said, "That will pass." Then the fisherman began to snore, so little Sid kept on walking. He thought the 3 wise ones must be farther up the mountain. Up and up he walked until a mighty river blocked his path. On the other side, he saw a woman in a tree. "Excuse me, are you a wise woman? I'm searching for happiness. How do I get to the other side?" The tree woman looked at the river, and then she said, You already are on the other side." Sid thought that was the dumbest thing he's ever heard. But he thought about it some more. Or is it the wisest? Maybe I'm on the mountain. Finally, he said, "Is there someone else I can talk to?" Suddenly, a tiger leapt out of the forest and charged at little Sid. So little Sid ran. He ran and ran until he ran off a cliff. Ah! Fortunately, he grabbed a vine and hung on. Whew! Unfortunately, a mouse appeared and began to nibble the vine. "Stop that! Shoo! Mouse, shoo!" But the mouse wouldn't shoo. The vine was about to break. Little Sid was going to die. I hate this mountain. That's when he noticed a strawberry growing on the vine. Since this might be the last meal of his life, he took a bite. Then the mouse spoke. It said, "How does it taste?" Without thinking, little Sid said, "Delicious." A fishing line appeared in front of little Sid. He grabbed the hook and it pulled him to safety. "Did you find what you were searching for?" "Yes, I'm happy now." "That too shall pass." When Sid walked down off the mountain, something about him seemed different. He thought different. He said, "Follow me, bring everything." "Yes, little Lord." He acted different. He helps out his neighbors and helping to clean. He was different. "I'll trade you all of these things for your saw." That evening at dinner, little Sid decided to make some changes. "Hello, son. Not a good time. We need to be somewhere else in a minute." Is something wrong, Sid? Would you like a new toy?" "No," little Sid said. "I want nothing." "Nothing?" "No things. Just be here now." Okay, so I really like this story. I think this helps demonstrate the capacity of a child's wisdom. King Sudahara and Queen Mary, little Sid's parents, didn't or perhaps weren't able to notice that he was unhappy. They thought that giving him everything he could ever want or need was the right thing to do. As well-intentioned as they may have been, they sheltered him from experiencing the world. He eventually reached awakening after stepping outside the comforts of his castle and realized what was important for him, being in the moment with his family and supporting his community. In the Hymns of the Pure Land, Shinran writes, "When a person realizes the mind of non-discrimination, that attainment is the state of regarding each being as one's only child. This is none other than Buddha nature, and we will awaken to it on reaching the land of peace." As Shinran explains here, the compassionate eyes of the Buddha look upon each life with the same care and concern as if they were one's only child. This is called the mind of discrimination, or the mind that has no favorites and despises no one. So it doesn't matter what grades you get, how many toys you have, or even if you're nice to your siblings. In the Buddha's eyes, everyone is wondrous, treasured, and honored. And when Siddhartha Gautama was born in the Lumbini's garden, it is said that he took 7 steps. He raised one hand to the sky and said, "Above the heavens and below the heavens, I alone am the honored one." And when he said this, he wasn't implying that his life was more valuable than anyone else's, but rather every individual life is valuable, and every child is an honored one. And as the poem I recited at the beginning, Issa Kobayashi wrote, "Even the lowly bamboo shoot proclaims to all the world, 'Truly I alone am the honored one.'" This poem shows that each life is precious, no matter how humble, and all life should be celebrated, as we have so much to learn from everything around us. In celebrating the birth of Shakyamuni Buddha, we remember that he was a child before he became a Buddha. Sometimes our society doesn't always respect children as much as I think they deserve, but with Prince Siddhartha, his birth was loved and celebrated by heavenly beings and those of this world. Little Sid was honored not by gifts and a life, but by being heard as he lived his authentic self and journeyed to explore his curiosities. And even though I might not look like a child to some of you, my friends and I joke that the BCA is quite kind of like a fountain of youth. To be a young adult is quite a generous age range, and I think it includes Reverend Candace and myself. I've been joining in on monthly discussions with our Yuakai, or Fujinkai group, and this is a group made of mostly women in their 80s and 90s. And one of the women there, one of the newer attendees, announced that she will be turning 70 next year. And the women gasped, and one said, "Oh, still just a baby." And then another said, "Oh, to be young again." Yeah, so really many of us here are still just babies. We're still vulnerable, we're still learning, we get things wrong, and it's important to have a community where we can change and develop. And being in this place, that reminds me of home, and with people who remind me of family, and as someone who feels like I am still just a baby, I realize that I, in many ways, also a treasured child. As we celebrate Hanamatsuri today, may we continue to support one another by recognizing that we are all honored ones, surrounded by those who are honored too. How grateful we are to live each day surrounded by beings worthy of being honored. Please join me in Gasho as I close with a quote from Shinran Shonin from the Hymns of the Pure Land. When a person realizes the mind of non-discrimination, that attainment is a state of regarding each being as one's only child. This is none other than Buddha nature. We will awaken to it on reaching the land of peace. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Shiro Moyama, for your wonderful and inspirational message. Please stand, if it is comfortable for you to do so, for the recitation of our pledge, followed by Nembutsu. This will be found on the inside back cover of your service book.
Our pledge. Breaking out of my shell, I will share a warm smile and speak gentle words, just like the kind Buddha. Not becoming lost in my greed, anger, and ignorance, I shall think and act with an open mind, just like the calm and peaceful Buddha. Not putting myself first, I will share in the joy and sadness of others, just like the compassionate Buddha. Realizing the gift of life I have received, I shall strive to live each day to its fullest, like the Buddha who tirelessly works to liberate all. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu.
This will now conclude the first portion of our service. We would like to thank everyone for your kind attendance today and Reverend Shiroyama for your Dharma School message. At this time, Dharma School students up to Class 8 are excused from the Hanamatsuri activity. Please come forward to offer tea. Yeah. If you have not done so already, we do have announcements. Reverend Shiroyama will deliver the adult Dharma message next. Okay. And then the Dharma School students are requested to go to the mini chapel when they're excused. Okay, announcements. Temple scholarship applications are available in the office. Submit the applications by noon on May 8th to the office. FDSTL conference is on April the 18th, 2026, Making the Dharma Come Alive. Keynote speaker are Bishop Marvin Harada and Yasue Ishida. Open to teachers, students, and families. Reverend Shibata's book club will meet on Wednesday, April the 22nd at 6:30. Please contact Sensei if you are interested. The Bento Box fundraiser pickup is on Saturday, April the 25th. Pickup between 11 and 2. You still may order. Bentos are available. See the Karma or inside the mini chapel in the gym, there are flyers. We are requesting donations for vintage Japanese treasures. The Japanese Treasures Boutique is on May the 2nd, 2026. Our annual Hatsumairi first service is on May the 10th. If you wish to participate or if you wish more details, see the flyer in the Karma. Cans and plastic bottles are now being collected by YBA. Please leave recyclables in the wide barrels in front of the mini chapel. Are there any other announcements? Debbie?
Good morning, everyone. I have a couple of announcements. The first one is, I'm sure all of you are aware of our Giving Tree platform where you're able to donate towards specific projects. We are updating that, or we are in the process of updating that, and you will see notices in the Karma and receive something in the mail about that. So be on the lookout. We are also starting a new program of sponsorship opportunities. If you enjoyed listening to Reverend Sidney today and our past guest speakers, that, you know, we're looking to help promote that and keep that program going. So it's very similar to our altar flowers. We ask for donors to sponsor our altar flowers for the special services like today and the Shotsuki services. So this will be a similar type of sponsorship where you will sponsor a guest speaker each month, and then also if you're able to also donate to the travel costs for them to be here in person to give their Dharma message. So look, that is also in the Karma, and if you're interested, you can contact Nicole in the office and she will sign you up for the month that you're interested in sponsoring. My last announcement has to do with Sangha Fellowship Sundays. We started this program last year, and it started off with just opening up the gym on Sundays for the kids to go play basketball and run around and have some fun. And then it was suggested that we expand that to some adult kind of activities. So last fall, Reverend Motoyoshi presented a yarn lei making session. Mike has done origami, and Michelle has done a couple of yoga stretching sessions. And so people have asked me, oh, how come we don't do it more consistently? And so it's really difficult because we try to avoid the first Sunday of the month, which is SBWA meeting. I try to avoid the Dharma School meeting Sundays, and then we try to avoid special services like today. So that really only leaves me maybe one Sunday a month to schedule something. And if it's Super Bowl Sunday, like Mark found out, if it's Super Bowl Sunday, if it's, you know, Mochitsuki Sunday, if it's something, you know, then that trumps the Sangha Fellowship program. So it's really difficult. We haven't been able to do it on a monthly basis. So our summer break is coming up, and we have one last opportunity, which will be next month on May the 17th. And so I kind of like you to all mark your calendar because this one is very special to me. Danelle Huff is by trade an RN, and she is the owner-operator of Fitness Addiction Studios in Atwater. She does personal training. She happens to be my personal trainer, and she has agreed to come to Stockton on May the 17th to do a session with all of us. What I like about Danelle is that she is not a 20-something-year-old, and so she does not expect me or any of her other clients to act like a 20-something-year-old. So She adapts her programs to me and my abilities, and she does some seated activities, exercises, stretching. We do, some standing things. We do cardio. We do, it's total body. She knows that I have a hard time. I have a hard time lying flat. So sometimes we get on the floor, but a lot of times we don't. And she will just adapt and have me sit in a chair and work out that way. So I'm kind of excited. She's very exuberant in what she does. And so I think that, and like Michelle, who said her goal is to teach everybody things that you can do on your own at home. Danelle has said the same thing, that she would like to come and just go through a routine, and maybe if there's one or two things that you enjoyed doing or you found very helpful or useful to your stretching your exercise daily routine, that then she was successful, because that would be something that you would take home and do on your own. So anyway, mark your calendars, May the 17th. That will be our last adult Sangha Fellowship Sunday session going into the summer break. And then when we come back in the fall, I've had two things that I've postponed numerous times. One is poor Mark, who has been waiting in the wings for months now. So I promised I'd give him first priority. And then we're trying to bring back pickleball just as a fun activity. It won't be necessarily instructional or anything like that. We'll just have the courts put up, so that everybody can come out and learn what it's like to play pickleball. And so that was the other activity that got canceled multiple times. So, and we will start this back up in the fall. So anyway, mark your calendars, May the 17th. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm May, one of the minister's assistants here. And this Thursday, I'm really excited because we're going to start a discussion, online discussion group, and it's called Buddhist Concepts and Anime. And this is open to everyone of all ages. You don't have to be an expert in anime or Buddhism. We're all going to start from ground zero. I'm really excited about the first anime that we're going to watch, and you're not going to know what it is unless you sign up. So we have a new flyer in the foyer with the QR code to sign up. It's a really quick sign up. We just need your name and email address. So I hope that you consider at least joining the first one just to see what it's like. And then we're going to have it every month, I think it's every third Thursday of the month. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Okay, just really quickly, with every service, there's so many people that help contribute to making the service possible, and especially today with all of you here, I just wanted to express my appreciation, especially to our guest speaker, Reverend Sydney Shiroyama, and of course the chairperson Sachi, our organist, and who did double duty by playing both the organ and the piano, Darlene, my minister's assistants. I feel like I'm accepting an award right now. And, even the people that I rarely see because I'm rushing all over, but of course, even our greeters and our uketsuke receptionists who collect your donations, and thank you so much for supporting us. And of course, our AV assistants, Charlie and Alex. And if you noticed on the back of the program today, it said that this service was kindly sponsored by our Stockton Buddhist Women's Association. So as Debbie was mentioning, there are many opportunities to sponsor, and in this case, SBWA sponsored our service. And of course, our Hanamatsuri wouldn't be the same without our beautiful Hanamido. So thank you all of you who came and decorated the Hanamido yesterday and donated the beautiful flowers. And it takes a lot of time and dedication to do this every year. And thank you to Mike Shibata for the plant donation on behalf of the Dharma School as well. And so I hope I didn't miss anybody, but thank you again for making this service what it is. So thanks, Sachi.
And everyone is welcome to stay for the luncheon following the Adult Dharma School talk. So please, students, you are dismissed to go to your classes.
say bye to the kids, and then I'll introduce you. Okay, so at this time, we'll continue the service with the adult Dharma message by Reverend Sydney. And while she's making her way over, then we'll get set up for her presentation.
Great. Okay, hi everyone again. Okay, so as I start my adult Dharma message, please join me in Gassho, as I will open with a quote from author and Shin Buddhist minister Reverend Gyome Kubose. This realization of oneness, it involves the highest type of communication and respect. If your life is realized in this sense, you would see that the whole world supports you. You exist because others. Everything supports your life. This totality, this oneness, evokes a gratitude and a great joy beyond explanation. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Okay. So, hi. This is the first time I've ever done a separate, Dharma school and adult talk. It's kind of nice to, take a little break and then, yeah. But even though, as I mentioned before, it is my first time here at the Stockton Buddhist Church, but even though it is my first time, I do have a familiar feeling when I come into this hondo. I recognize a few faces here in the Sangha today, particularly Dan and Chris Kubo, who's sitting over there. I met Chris and Dan through Taiko Connections back in 2018, even though it feels like I've known them for much longer. When I first met them, I visited their house in Cortez, and it's funny, that first meeting, I met them both, and just after an hour of meeting them, Dan comes up to me and he's like, "Have you thought of being a minister?" At that time I didn't, so I guess you can blame Dan for that. But when I first walked in their home, the first thing I saw was this picture hanging in the back, and that struck me because my grandma had the same picture hanging in her home as well. And here's a zoomed up image of this. Does anyone else have this picture? I'm just curious. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking maybe it's I guess I'll ask them where they got it. But yeah, it was very striking to see that, something that, of course, was so familiar in my grandma's home to be seen in the Kubo's home as well. And it made me really, I was like, wow, you guys are really JA. It feels very Japanese American in this home. Yes, and like I mentioned that was mentioned in the bio, my mom's side of the family is from the Central Valley. She grew up in a town called Layton, and they went to the Hanford Buddhist Church, which is pictured here, where my Uncle Dean is still active. As I've gotten more involved with BCA, I've met many people who have let me know that they've worked with my family members in the Central Valley farms. It is really cool to hear that, and very humbling, and makes me a little nervous, because I hope that there was positive experiences with my grandparents and my great-grandparents, but it's still great to know that I have kind of a collective memory outside of my own. And when there are so many people connected to my family member, it does feel like an extension of my own family, for better or for worse. As a youngish person pursuing the ministry in the BCA, I often feel like I'm a child, and I'm sure Reverend Candace Shibata can relate to this as well. One example is that my parents sometimes get CC'd on emails that involved guest speaking requests, not the one from this temple, but it often happens when they are friends with the minister, which of course is fine, it's very sweet, but my mom seems to find it very satisfying to remind me that I better reply to Reverend J. So, but I truly do feel grateful to have a lot of room to grow under the nurturing umbrella of this familial community. And this probably sounds very familiar to many of you here, as I know this sort of connection finding and building is very common in the Japanese American community, especially for other Yonseis or fourth generation Japanese Americans like myself. And in fact, I do have a pretty common Yonsei Japanese-American family story. My family immigrated to the US in the early 1900s. They worked in the fields of Central California, and my grandma's family was sent to Poston, and my grandpa was at Jerome before he and his brothers were drafted and served in the 442nd. My mom and her siblings were born in the 50s and 60s, and like many third-generation Japanese Americans, they didn't learn to speak Japanese. But when I was growing up, I don't remember this being much of a concern to me. At the Palo Alto Buddhist Temple, our Dharma school was probably around 70 or 80%, specifically mixed, half Japanese, half Caucasian Yonseis, like myself, and I did feel very secure within this identity of Japanese American. I spent my summers savoring every moment at Medaka no Gakko, the 3-week summer day camp at Palo Alto Buddhist Temple, where we learned about Japanese culture, food, and art. And thanks to many years of volunteering at Obon, which sometimes felt like child labor, under the watchful eyes of our BWA elders, I could make a spam musubi with the spam lined up right in the middle and no grains of rice on the outside. My grandma didn't teach me how to prepare traditional Japanese washoku meals, but I did learn how to make her traditional layered jello, which is a staple at many Japanese American New Year's parties. And after college, I moved to Japan to teach English with the JET program. And I was placed in a suburban town on an island called Awaji, which is pictured here. When people learned of my last name, which is Shiroyama, they would often respond with an extra long, eh? And they would ask me where in Japan my family was from. I didn't know, and I never really thought it was a problem not to know. I felt like my family's story started with their arrival to America. My family had a very outdated address of a distant relative in Japan, but there wasn't really much interest in finding them, and we figured they didn't speak English anyway. Finally, I was talking to an English-speaking coworker one day at the school where I worked in Japan, and I casually mentioned that maybe we have an address of a potential family member, maybe somewhere near Hiroshima. He asked to see it. And of course, it wasn't like this wonky address format with like the city, the town, like different places. But he plopped it into Google Maps, and this temple with a phone number popped up. And he called it up right then and there and explained that one of his American coworkers might be related to them. The person who answered recognized my last name and verified that, yes, we are somehow related. And magically, this family member could speak English. Coincidentally, my family was planning to visit me in Japan a few months later. So we set up a trip to visit these maybe relatives in Hiroshima. I drove my sister, my aunt, my mom, and my uncle out to Hiroshima to meet Shuna and Shuntai, pictured here. They showed us around the city and peace memorials. Shuna, who is the one related to us, told us that her husband, Shuntai, runs the temple where my great-grandmother was born. My great-grandmother was the youngest person in her family, and so her brothers took over the temple, and she was sent to America as a picture bride. And we were grateful to meet them and explore this potential family connection. But at the same time, we were a little skeptical. They did feel so distant, and this part of the family felt so disconnected. Oh, here's a picture of the temple. Yeah, even after meeting these real-life family members, it all still felt so far removed. Shuna showed us the temple hondo, which is pictured here, and it had just been renovated recently, so it looked very modern. She then took us to the back of the Onaijin and pointed at a black and white panoramic picture. She said, "This is a photo of your great-grandmother's funeral in 1962. It was taken in Central California." So I guess when my grandmother passed away, or my great-grandmother passed away in 1962, somebody did send this panoramic photo to the temple where her brothers were serving, and then they put it in the back here. Shuna took it down so we can get a better look, and immediately my mom recognized herself in the photo. She was 2 years old, and my grandmother was carrying her in her arms. I think you can can kind of see here. Yeah. And then my mom and my aunt identified many other siblings and cousins that are in the photo as well. It was after seeing this photo that it struck me. The connection to my family in Japan was always there, but I just didn't know it. They had this photo hanging in the back of the Onaijin maybe since 1962. And we have an area in our temple that looks like this, and it's a very important space for temple preparation. Somebody actually pointed out that maybe they just put it up for our visit, in which case, like, props to them, because that's still pretty cool. But yeah, it might have been there since 1962. And it means that they look at this funeral photo every time they light a stick of incense for service. And they must have felt that it was important to remember their connection to their family in the United States. I'm sure they never guessed that more than 50 years later, after it was taken, the 2-year-old in the photo would come and visit the family, with her family too. And now we have family to visit in Hiroshima. They had so much information about my family and pictures that someone had sent them before the war, but we had lost during incarceration. And it is exciting to know that there is so many stories and family history left to uncover. And this sort of like this finding your roots story is not really everyone's journey. And of course, not everyone here has a connection to Japan, but we have a connection to someone and somewhere. And each of us has countless connections. And even if we don't know it, they're there. I think one of our practices as lived Jodo Shinshu Buddhists is to discover and be reminded of our connections to everything. We connect to our ancestors and the deceased when we recite their names during Shotsuki or remember them during Obon. And we connect to our teachings when we chant. And we connect to our community when we sing and we dance together. And when we play taiko, we connect through a shared sensory experience of vibrations and rhythms. We share food and recipes that remind us of our legacy, families, and culture. And when we connect with nature, history, and storytelling during Hanamatsuri. And during BCA conferences and events, many of us engage in networking, and it can be thrilling and a little scary maybe to discover connections we never knew we had before. And all of these religious rituals and social engagements remind us that we are interconnected and supported by everyone around us. The connection is always there, even if we don't know it yet. And with so much support surrounding us, it's easier to see the infinite life and compassion of Amida Buddha, the gentle grasp that protects us and guides us always. And when we truly start to apply this understanding to not only our family and our inner circle, but to communities around us, we realize how much we need to support one another and live our lives with gratitude and compassion. So please join me in Gasho as I close with a quote from author and Shin Buddhist minister, Reverend Gyome Kubose. This realization of oneness, it involves the highest type of communication and respect. If your life is realized in this sense, you would see that the whole world supports you. You exist because others. Everything supports your life. This totality, this oneness, evokes a gratitude and a great joy beyond explanation. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Okay, thank you.
So thank you so much, Reverend Sidney, for your Dharma message and for giving us a sneak peek into your life. And of course, as Dan had mentioned, he had seen something in you, maybe even before you realized it, but we're so glad that you did. And who would have known that you had a family history of being a temple family too. So we're so glad to be able to receive the Dharma and your appreciation of it and sharing your messages with us. And of course, we wish you the best of luck as you travel to Japan. And so Sensei will be leaving in October for Fukuoka, and we'll be beginning intensive Japanese study in Fukuoka, and there's a possibility of then moving to Kyoto to continue her education in Buddhist studies and Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. So again, best wishes to you, and we hope that you can stay with us for a little bit to enjoy the luncheon and to meet the rest of our Sangha. So thank you again for taking time out of your busy schedule with us, and thank all of you for coming today, and please join us for the luncheon and a little bit of entertainment that we have lined up. So if you didn't have an opportunity to come pour sweet tea over the Buddha, please feel free to do so, and snap any pictures that you would like to of the Hanamido as well. It's very, very beautiful. So thank you again to all of you who helped decorate it as well. Okay, so without further ado, shall we put our palms together one last time? Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namandawatsu, Namandawatsu, Namandawatsu. Okay, thank you, everybody.